Right, so I've decided to finally do something about my Verbenas. These are Verbena bonariensis, so the purple ones. As you can see, they've got quite long. They've had a bit of aphid damage and whitefly damage, but they're starting to shoot at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is, because I want them to bush out and produce more stems, which will obviously mean more flowers, I'm going to trim them all down and use the tops as cuttings. So look, this is a good one. You can see there, those two shoots are coming from the bottom. So if I cut just there, 2 more shoots will come, and then there'll be 4 dominant shoots on this plant. So that's what I'm going to do. I've got this little tiny propagator lid here, and I've cut one of the cell trays in half so that I have so that it can fit on with the lid. Really, that was the only reason I did it. I've got my plate, which I'm going to be doing the cutting on, and I'm going to make up some soil. I've got some, because in my previous video I did the dahlias, and in those bags was some vermiculite, so I'm going to be using that vermiculite and mix it with the soil and use that for the cutting compost. So I'm going to mix that up off camera, and I'll come back in a second. Right, so this is just ordinary multi-purpose compost. I'm not going to be using anything fancy in terms of like purchased compost, but I'm going to add some of this vermiculite here. Make sure I'm removing any like debris that's in the vermiculite, because obviously this has already been used. So I'm going to add that bag, and then I've got another bag which has about the same amount in. So with the cuttings, sorry, let me just pull this and then I'll start talking. Right, so let's remove any lumps and bumps in there. With the cuttings, it's good, you need to have it well drained, and the vermiculite will add as drainage as well as moisture retention, so it'll hold the water in the compost. So mix that up really nicely. This is like the first time I've used vermiculite in my garden ever, because I've just never bought it, or perlite either. I don't really like the look of it, to be honest. But there we go, that's good. So if I move this out of the way, I'm going to prepare the cells first, so that once the cuttings are cut, they can go straight in, and then there'll be no faffing around. So let's get these all filled. We've only got 12 plants, so I won't need to fill the whole tray, but if I fill this side and not that end one, actually no, I'll fill the whole tray, because then I can take some cuttings of different things in my garden. So I just before I did this, I took some cuttings of some lavender. I didn't do it on camera, but maybe I'll take a couple more of those. Right, let's just get these, make sure they're all filled. I'm not too worried about it being perfect, but I just don't want them to sink too deep, so I'll just tap them gently and see which ones need filling. So these ones on the end, there we go. I'm not sure if it's not really the right time of the year to take cuttings. However, because I've got a lot of warm weather coming up and I am in my greenhouse, they'll be fine. It'll be absolutely fine. So that's full, so that's prepared. I've still got a little bit of compost left. I'll put that to one side. Right, now I'm going to grab the plate and the knife. I've got my greenhouse is so cramped. I'm just having to I'm really sitting by the door, and that's why I keep nudging the camera. I'm so sorry. Right, so I'll show you how I'll do the cutting. This isn't me saying this is the only way you can do it, or this is exactly how you should do it, but so I'm gonna cut. See, I could cut right here, and these ones will grow up as well as these ones, but I'm gonna go up one more just to be on the safe side. So this is what the plant looks like. So now it's going to focus its energy on growing here, and these 2 shoots, which will be there. So that will just produce a larger plant in the long run. So let me start. So it's best to do this with like a clean, sharp knife, but the average gardener is not gonna go into that much effort just to do this, right? So the way you should do it, cut off the bottom leaves. I'm gonna cut off quite a few, only because these bottom leaves are old and a bit like, they're just not great. So I'll cut that like that, and then I'm gonna cut across one of these nodes. There we go. And I'll pull those two bottom leaves off as well. I'm gonna cut these two shoots off the side here just because they don't need to be there, and it should grow from the top as well. These leaves are quite big, so what you can also do is just slice the leaves in half so the transpiration rate will lower. There we go. I'm gonna take two more off like that. So we've got these leaves at the top, and then let me move this to one side. It's quite a long process, and then I'm simply just going to pot one in each cell. I'm not going to use any hormone or anything like that because I don't have any, and I wouldn't use it anyway, to be honest. But yeah, there we go. So that's one done. I'll grab another one and do another one quickly. This one's quite tall. You probably could get a couple of cuttings out of this. So I could cut about here, have one cutting there, and then another cutting at the top. But I'm not too fussed about having more plants. It's just because I want to trim these anyway, and I thought, why not use them rather than waste them. So I'm going to cut that about there. My secateurs need sharpening so bad. I've had these. Actually, I think these are no, these aren't my new ones. Yeah. So I've had those for about 6 years. It's got to be about 6 years now. So I'm not sharpened them once. So anyway, I'm sure you don't care about my secateurs. So with this, there's so much at the bottom that I'm just going to get rid of. So I'm going to cut there, cut these bottom leaves off, making sure I get the little growth off as well, and then I'm going to cut these ones off too, and then I'm going to cut through that node and then slice the leaves. So obviously you can get this done really quick, and then it's going straight into the cells. So I'm going to carry on doing that with all of the, and look, right, so I'll just show you because I mentioned it, so this is the part that was kind of waste from the other one, but I could literally just, actually I think I will, because I've got more space in there. I'll just cut through there, cut these leaves in half. No, actually I'll leave those ones, and there's another one. So yeah, I'm going to carry on doing that, and I'll show you once I'm finished. So now all the Verbenas had a haircut over there, and then if we come down here, we managed to get quite a few. So I've got 7 cells left. So what I've decided is to do a few more cuttings of this lavender that I have. So you can see this, like, it's so dense in the center, and if you could cut half of that out and you probably wouldn't notice once it's grown to, once it's in flower. So I'm gonna select a few of the stems out of here. So it's quite dense. This side's quite dense. Well, it looks it to me, and maybe here. So I'm just gonna cut a few stems out. I'll try to get some that are fairly long, so it gives us a bit more to work with. About that, yeah, that's absolutely fine. So I'll cut some of these out and put them to one side. This one here is quite long. cut that there. And the thing is, when you're cutting these, it's basically like you're just giving it a little rejuvenative prune anyway, so it'll really like bush out once you do this, because it will grow a lot more shoots. So there's, what's that, 3? It's looking a bit uneven. Let me grab one from this side, one from here. So that one there looks good. This one can come out. Like I said, even if it does look a little bit thin on certain areas, it'll really bush out. So let's start off with that. I'll get the plate again, and then get my knife, and then we'll do some of these. So it's exactly the same technique as with the Verbenas. There's really no difference. It's just with this, I guess there's more sort of leaves on this. So let me bring that around. Right. Oh, get my knife open. So just, if you are doing this, just be really careful with a sharp knife. Right, if I just remove some of these lower leaves to begin with, just so I can see what I'm working with. Just slice them off. Slice that off. Now it's going to be hard to get a lot of these leaves off, only because it's so dense. So if I cut that like that, that will do. And then I'm just gonna make sure the cut is going through one of the nodes. Let's tidy that up a little. There we go, that's better. And then I'm going to do the exact same, just cut across the top, making sure I don't damage the top part there. There we are, that's perfect. The only thing is that my dirty hands have got all over it, but that's fine. So I'll pop that in. And I'll get on with these ones. So the exact same again. I expect these to root in, I'd say 2 weeks. 2 weeks would be absolutely long enough if the conditions like are right. If it's warm enough in here and they are moist enough, they'll be moist enough, and I'm pretty certain they'll be warm enough considering we're having hot weather coming. There's still quite a lot of leaves on that one, so I'm going to cut that one more off there and one more off there. Oh, I accidentally just sliced through that. That should still be fine. That's the downside to having a sharp knife. Right, yeah, so like I said, about 2 weeks I would expect to see some sort of roots. The best way to tell whether your cuttings have rooted, you can give them a tug, but I wouldn't advise that, because any little roots that have just started developing you may damage by tugging it, so I wouldn't advise tugging it, but I know people do it, and obviously it's an indicator. So what was I saying? Once you start to see new growth, that's literally the best way to know whether they're rooted, or if they're in such small cells like mine are, you can just look underneath and you'll see roots coming out the bottom. So let me go back to here. I'm going to finish this off camera only because I'll run out of things to say if I'm just filming all of it. So I've got these ones, and then let's come up here, and these were the ones I took earlier, if I can get the camera at the right angle. There we are. And then I took a couple of little, I'm not sure what they are, like sedums there, like alpines, but yeah, they're the ones I took earlier. The cuttings that I've taken, I took earlier in the year here are the Acers, and I've just noticed, if we get, look there, that bud is starting to burst, which would indicate to me that it's got roots, but I'm not going to pull it. I'm just going to wait and see. Patience is the best thing. Yeah, so that is a job done now. So now the Verbenas are really going to bush out, and they're going to be better off for it. And now there's less leaves, it gives me the ease of checking them a lot easier with the whitefly and the aphids. So that's that done. the cuttings from the fuchsias are looking a lot better. There's a lot more healthy growth on those. I pulled, one of them was trying to flower, so I pulled the flowers off because I don't want it to flower yet. Oh, another seed's come up. There, I've only just noticed that. So now there's only 2. Oh, but this one's been eaten. There we are. Wow. Is there any slugs in here? Isn't that funny? One grows and one gets eaten. I'll have to check through there for slugs and snails after. It's so frustrating. Anyway, so I'm gonna keep these nice and moist. I won't keep them sopping wet though, although they are drained. They're free draining, so it wouldn't be a problem. But I'm not gonna have them sitting in a water tray just because I don't want them to rot. And yeah, I should expect to see growth really soon. And yeah, I'll carry on with these. And that's all I can say really. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.